Class 2, before we start reading our chapter today, I'm going to ask you your sequencing Suki question. Your sequencing Suki question for today is, which character do we first meet in this story? Which is the first character that Roald Dahl introduces in this story? Okay, the parents. When Miss Honey emerged from the headmistress's study, most of the children were outside on the playground. Her first move was to go round to the various teachers who taught the senior class and to borrow from them a number of textbooks, books on algebra, geometry, French, English literature, and the like. Then she sought out Matilda and she called her into the classroom. "There's no point," she said, "in you sitting in class doing nothing at all while I'm teaching the rest of the form the 2 times tables and how to spell cat and rat and mouse. So during each lesson, I'm going to give you one of these textbooks to study. At the end of the lesson, you should come up to me with your questions, if you have any, and I'll try to help you. How does that sound?" "Thank you, Miss Honey," Matilda said. "That sounds fine." "I'm sure," Miss Honey said, "that we'll be able to get you moved into a much higher form later on. But at the moment, the headmistress wishes you to stay right where you are." "Very well, Miss Honey," Matilda said. "Thank you so much for getting those books for me." What a nice child she is, Miss Honey thought. I don't care what her father said about her. She seems very quiet and gentle to me, and not a bit stuck up in spite of her brilliance. In fact, she hardly seems to be aware of it. So when the class reassembled, Matilda went to her desk and began to study a textbook on geometry, which Miss Honey had given her. The teacher kept half an eye on her all the time and noticed that the child very soon became deeply absorbed in the book. She never glanced up once during the entire lesson. Miss Honey, meanwhile, was making another decision. She was deciding that she would go herself and have a secret talk with Matilda's mother and father as soon as possible. She simply refused to let the matter rest where it was. Sorry, tongue twisted. The whole thing was ridiculous. She could not believe that her parents were totally unaware of their daughter's remarkable talents. After all, Mr. Wormwood was a successful motor car dealer, so she presumed that he was a fairly intelligent man himself. In any event, parents never underestimated the abilities of their own children. Quite the reverse. Sometimes it was well nigh impossible for a teacher to convince the proud mother or father that their beloved offspring was a complete nitwit. Miss Honey felt confident that she would have no difficulty at all in convincing Mr. and Mrs. Wormwood that Matilda was something very special indeed. The trouble was going to be to stop them from getting over-enthusiastic. And now Miss Honey's hopes began to expand even further. She started wondering whether permission might not be sought from the parents for her to give private tuition to Matilda after school. The prospect of coaching a child as brilliant as this appealed enormously to her professional instinct as a teacher, and she suddenly decided that she would go and call in on Mr. and Mrs. Wormwood that very evening. She would go fairly late, between 9 and 10 o'clock, when Matilda was sure to be in bed. Sorry, Class 2, I got so tongue-twisted in that section. Shows you how tired I am. Right. See you tomorrow, Munchkins.